Mankind has been using wind energy for a very long time, for example, for grinding grain in windmills. With the beginning of electrification at the end of the 19th century, generators were also soon operated with the help of windmills, or windmills were converted to produce electricity. The physical basis for the today's wind turbines was provided by Albert Betz with his research in 1920 in Germany, who at the time already described blade shapes as ideal, which are very similar to today's turbines. He also developed Betz's law, which proves that a maximum of 59.3% of the wind's kinetic energy can be harnessed by a wind turbine. In this video, we take a look at how wind power expansion in Germany has gone in the wake of the energy transition, how the wind power industry has grown and why it is now on the brink or has even gone one step further in recent years. The legal basis for the economic feeding of energy into the grid with wind turbines in Germany was provided by the Electricity Feed Act of 1991, as is also the case with photovoltaics. The law defined the prices that plant operators had to receive for the energy they fed into the grid. In the following years, the first larger wind turbines and wind farms were connected to the grid. In 2001, the Renewable Energy Source Act, EEG for short, was introduced, which once again significantly accelerated the expansion in Germany, so that by the end of 2003, around 2/3 of all European wind turbines had been installed in Germany. During these years, the German wind power industry also achieved a leading position in the world, especially in the mechanical engineering sector, and many jobs were created. The first peak in new installations was in 2002, followed by a slight decline until 2004. From then until 2012, new installations were more or less constant. From 2013 to 2017, significantly more new installations were added before a slump occurred in 2018, and the number of new installations was cut in half in that year. In the following year, the number of new installations halved again and has remained at low level since then. Due to the low number of new installations, the wind power industry also experienced problems and many companies reduced their production in Germany or went bankrupt. The number of employees in the wind power industry increased steadily to 160,000 workers by 2016. In 2019, only about 105,000 workers were still employed in the industry. By 2021, the number had recovered somewhat and was about 130,000. Nevertheless, more and more companies are leaving, as the market here in Europe is shrinking rather than growing. In rotor blade manufacturing, the last German factory also closed in 2022 and moved to India. There are many reasons for that decline in new wind turbines. For one, politics has its share. In many German states, there are distance regulations from residential areas or individual residential buildings to wind turbines, which have been tightened over time. The best known, because the most extreme, is the so-called 10H rule in Bavaria, which states that the distance between a wind turbine and the nearest residential area must be at least 10 times the height. For modern wind turbines, this means a distance of 2 kilometers and more, which makes the construction of new wind turbines almost impossible. In addition, there have been numerous campaigns with misinformation from various interest groups against wind power. Their claims have already been partially refuted. Based on a study from 2005, many people are afraid of infrasound from wind turbines and health consequences. Later, however, it turned out that there was a calculation error in the study and the volume was too high by a factor of about 10,000. The infrasound of a wind turbine is lower than that of a country road with a speed limit of 100 km per hour. Noise pollution with too little distance does exist, which means that distance regulations of a few hundred meters can make sense. However, regulations like 10H are much too extreme. Another argument of wind power opponents is that wind turbines could lead to the extinction of many birds of prey. However, recent large-scale studies refute this argument. There are some citizen initiatives in Germany, most of which fight locally against wind power projects. There is often talk of over 1,000 citizen initiatives. A study linked in the video description shows that this number is probably much lower and at the maximum there were little more than 300 active initiatives. Their members often believe misinformation, such as on infrasound, and are therefore afraid of health or economic consequences, for example due to falling prices of their properties. However, most people are aware that we need new wind turbines to achieve the energy transition goals. Currently, the trend is reversing again, and politicians are trying to turn things around. Distance regulations are to be reduced and bureaucratic hurdles are to be dismantled. The coming years will show whether the crash can still be prevented or whether the wind industry will suffer the same fate as the PV industry. If you want to know more about how the German PV industry went down, watch this video now or learn more about wind turbines here. If you like the video, leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel.